Welcome to the March 4th, 2024 Fairfield Planning Board meeting. Thank you all for coming, especially our volunteer board. And before we get on with the agenda, we have a new alternate tonight. Would you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Hi, my name's Monica Town. I've been a resident in Fairfield for 25 years now. I live right on Western Avenue. My kids have grown up in the district and, all graduated from, so I, was curious about different things going on, and I happened to have a conversation with her, and she goes, well, we have a position, so it was, okay, let's see what we're going to do, and I'm quite excited about it.
Well,
So
good. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Yep. Second item actually on our agenda tonight, annual organizational meeting with the election of planning board officers. The planning board shall choose one by vote, one of their members to be chairperson, vice chairperson, and one to be secretary in accordance with the Fairfield Planning Board bylaws, section 2.3. I take a motion to either keep officers as last year or any amendment thereof.
Make a motion to keep officers the same as last year.
No, second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Oh, yes.
You need a secretary because the secretary is no longer with us.
Okay. We're looking for a volunteer secretary.
Max will do it, thank you.
Max will do it. Great. All those in favor? Thank you. Next item, minutes of the December 4th, 2023 Planning Board meeting to be approved. That was a busy meeting I saw. I wasn't here. Thank you all for covering on that and doing what you did. I take a motion to accept those meeting minutes.
Motion to accept.
A motion and a second.
I'll second.
Second, thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. Public hearings. A public hearing, mainly trusses conditional use permit application at 7 Truss Lane for a proposed cold storage building 125 feet by 200 feet, identified on the tax map 1, lot 2, zoned industrial. Who is here for that proposal tonight?
Good evening. Jeff Allen from A.E. Hudson Engineers. Great to see you again.
Hi, Jeff.
Do you want me to give like just a short description of what the project is?
If you would, just a quick description of the building.
Okay, sure. Mainly Trusses has the facility on Truss Lane, which is right off Savage Street. And what they're proposing this evening is adding as you mentioned, 125 by 200-foot storage building. This will be an unheated storage building in the in the yard where they have their facility or where they're doing storage already. So because it's unheated, they have no water or sewer. They just have electrical service connecting to it, but nothing, no real change of use other than putting a roof over an area that's being used for storage.
Okay. Any questions or comments from our board?
This is just a public hearing, correct?
Public hearing. Correct. Oh, thank you, Max. Any questions or comments from people in the public? Do we have any questions or comments from Zoom?
There's no one.
There is no one.
And I can't hear Max.
Sorry, Chad.
Testing 1, 2. I'll ask again, any questions from the public on this public hearing about mainly trusses? Hearing none, I'll close the meeting. Thank you, Jeff. Unfinished business? We have none. New business, item A, 6A, Christopher York, Greenman Peterson, a representative for a preliminary sketch plan discussion on a conditional use permit application for proposed redevelopment of 247 Main Street on tax map 19, lot 157, zone commercial.
Okay, you want to be on speakerphone, or are you not able to dial in? Okay. What is your email? I will have Chad email you the link so that you can join us.
Okay,
I will have him send
we still are under new business.
Sorry, he's going to join us a little later. I have to give this to Chad. We sent him the wrong link.
Is this Chris York?
Chris York.
Okay,
So he'll come up on the next item.
okay.
Skip this one.
We'll move on. Item B, Stephen Goldman, discussion with the board to determine if he needs to apply for a conditional use permit application to use a portion of his existing barn to host boxing and gym training activities, and in the future to construct a 10 by 30 by 30 boxing gym at his residential home, 409 Mill Road, on tax map 15, lot 5A, zoned rural, discussion and decision. Stephen, here tonight? Hello
None
there?
of that is correct.
None of this is correct.
Absolutely none of it.
Okay, tell me what is correct.
Should we wait for Nicole to get back? Just so
Yeah,
she's
let's
here
see.
to take notes.
Go ahead.
Okay. Last year, I had in my mind that I was going to build my grandson a 30 by 30 building, just a pole barn type building. Okay, I've built 90 feet of it on my property already, and I was just going to add another 30 feet of it so I could put his boxing ring in it, because he was a pro boxer. However, he got a bad concussion in February, and he can't box anymore. But he trains young boxers that belong to the USA Boxing Federation. And nobody comes in that gym that doesn't belong to the USA Federation, and it's not open to the public. It's just a bunch of boys that he's known through his boxing career. He used to box for Joe Gamage down in Lewiston. He's gone down to Portland and boxed down there. And he holds the New England heavyweight belt. And he also holds the ABF heavyweight belt. And he's been training to train young boxers. And some of the refs down at the last New England competition said that he was one of the up and coming best 10 coaches of the year this year. And so I was just trying to further his adventure, just like anybody would put a swimming pool in the backyard for his kids to invite his friends over. And that's what my grandson is doing, okay? He's been doing this for 10 years now, and he's actually got a recommendation from the State House when he won the New England championship belt, and they awarded him with great gratitude and things he's done in the public schools as well, because he's spoken several of the schools, because he was one of these kids that was going down the wrong road, and we got him into boxing, and we took him down to Joe Gamage, and he was down there for 3 years, and it straightened him right out. I mean, he doesn't drink anymore, he doesn't smoke, and he's just turned his life around, and he wants to help young kids that are going down the same kind of road, try to straighten them out, because it takes a lot of grit and dedication to do boxing, period. I mean, you've really got to love it, and you've got to stick by everything, because it's grueling. And that's all I'm trying to do, is build him a building so he can put that in there, put his ring in there, and his amateurs can spar inside the building. And they only do this 3 nights a week, 3 hours a day. But
Nicole,
all of a sudden, it's become some big deal, and I don't understand it. I got 23 acres, it sits back, 500 yards from the road. So it's not around anybody. It's got its own separate entrance from my driveway, so they don't have to come through my driveway. It goes down through my field. And that's what we want to do. I don't know why we need a variance. I've got a permit already. And plus, I was made to get an engineered drawing, okay? I've already built 90 feet of a building just like this, but now I gotta go, I'll spend $5,000 and get an engineered drawing, because she thought it was a commercial property, and I said, no, it's not. It's a space for my grandson to box and train when he was a pro boxer, but now he's just gonna train his amateurs.
Okay. I read someplace that you were advertising.
No.
That
What that
didn't-
was, that came down from the town manager. She saw my grandson with one of the other fellers that was going to the New England Heavyweight Championship this year.
Okay.
And that was just a couple of weeks ago.
So the real question is does this apply for a conditional use permit? And
That is the question. So
Right.
I made the determination where originally when he applied, it was for private use, and that's exactly what
That's
the
right, it
permit
is for
said.
private use.
Right. And then when he said his grandson was injured and no longer professional training for himself, because that's what you had told me, it was for
That's right,
his
he's
place.
not,
his place to
He's just
train.
training these amateurs. He doesn't
Right.
get paid for it, and there's no money in amateur boxing anyway. And anybody that knows anything about boxing knows there's no money in it. All there are fees that you have to pay.
Okay, well, again, our code, I'm sure, is just trying to determine what the permit process is, what the ordinance says you're required to do, and we're just supporting Nicole in trying to make sure that,
Well, last year there was no problem to it. Now I'm sitting with $20,000 worth of material on the ground because of her need to have an engineered drawing of what we were gonna do, because I couldn't find another cement guy. I had a guy for April 1st, and now I've got everything on the ground waiting for somebody to do something this year.
okay. But you do realize that you have materials on the ground, and you're building something, and that would possibly require a building permit, correct?
I have one, $264 worth,
Okay.
which I thought was ridiculous.
So,
It's just a square building.
and I did give him his permit for his private boxing ring. But
Okay.
now the scope of work has changed, is what has been brought to my attention.
Gotcha.
Nothing has changed. My existing pole barn is my building, okay? This 30 by 30 building was for my grandson.
I can hear you.
Yeah, I know, I'm hard of hearing, so I
Okay.
talk loud, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
You don't need to raise your voice. Okay, we're not going to be boxing here tonight, right? Okay. So, Nicole, question.
Yes.
If this is a private, informal training area, and there's no advertisements, and no one paying fees, and no one coming in, and no parking issues, knowing that now, and that's not what I read in the background, okay, the background I read was there was some marketing and advertising to promote a commercial boxing program, okay, that's what I read. So what is it, at this point, what is your understanding of what he's asking for?
Well, my understanding is that it's no longer his grandson's private gym for him to personally train in.
Yeah, he's training young boxers. He doesn't get paid for
Now he's
it.
doing it as a job, like
Okay.
training.
No, he's not doing it as a job, he's doing it as, because he loves it. He works full-time. He does this for 3 hours a day, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That's it. From 4 o'clock in the afternoon to 7, that's it.
So I just wanted from the board, is that okay that he consider it a private gym, or is this a public?
It's not a gym. It's just a 4-wall building with a cement floor in it. That's it. When he's done with it, I'm gonna put my vehicles in it.
Okay.
Just another cold storage building.
Right, exactly. That's all it is, a cold storage building. There's no inside walls, just the outside walls, which are steel, and the roof is steel.
A question, Nicole. What is going to trigger a commercial use, other than what he's explaining to us tonight? What would trigger a reapplication or a commercial use?
So if the scope changes and he's no longer just privately inviting
Okay?
his personal friends
Okay.
into the personal space, and they're not using his personal restroom, I'm guessing when they need to use a facility, they must go in one of the homes there, I'm not
Right.
sure. So,
Okay.
then, right, it becomes a public space where they have to provide.
Gotcha.
a facility for them to use as a restroom, a place to clean themselves.
Parking.
Parking.
Okay.
Right, well, and he said that they're using a separate entrance. I was not aware of that till he said it.
Okay.
So they're not using the entrance to the home, like a home business. They got a whole separate
Right.
driveway.
Which was already there. That was the road that the apple farm used to take their apples out of the field.
A question for you, are the amateur boxers who are being trained, is there any sort of sign-up process to be part of this?
Not with Justin, just with the USA Boxing. They have to belong to USA Boxing in order to train.
So essentially, your grandson is inviting his friends over
That's correct.
to box
Right, and-
in your barn.
Unfortunately, his friends now are boxers. Before, they were drug users, okay? So, that's the big difference.
Yeah, no,
That's why he's hanging around with different people now.
Okay.
Where it becomes in my mind, where it becomes a commercial site is when there's a sign-up process. I could go over and I could sign up or pay a fee and learn boxing. That, I think, is at least maybe what the town was
Right,
thinking
and
this
that's not
was.
what's happening.
If this is your grandson inviting his friends over to box, I would see that no different than me inviting my friends over to play soccer in the front yard.
Right, and it just happens his friends like to box, so they belong to the USA Boxing League, the amateur league, and they have to pay a fee, I think it's $50 a year to them. And my grandson has to pay $200 for the insurance for them to even box on our property, plus he has to pay $95 a year for his license to coach.
How many people are we
So
talking
he's
about?
coaching, not just, so he's a formal boxing coach, coaching students on the property.
Right, but he's not getting paid.
Okay. I mean,
He just takes them to the tournaments down there, and they have to pay the fees to go down there, and the entry, there are no entry fees for the boxers, but they have to pay to travel wherever. And unfortunately, most of the time it's in Massachusetts and New Hampshire for the amateurs, because
So you do have specialty,
Maine doesn't get into it very often.
so there is specialty insurance for the activities taking place?
Yes, through USA Boxing,
Okay. And,
which Justin has to have in order for him to coach these kids.
right, okay, so it's formal coaching, not necessarily just inviting
Yeah, no,
his
they don't
friends.
horseplay. They're the kids that want to learn how to become boxers.
Okay,
And maybe
so-
someday, get good, but
So it's some sort of schooling going on
yes,
on the property. Okay. So it's not just as simple as inviting his buddies over to box.
well, they are his friends, but
Agreed.
yeah,
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that that was clear, that it is a formal activity taking place.
yes, but I mean, it's not one that you have to go because you paid fees to go to it. I mean, you go do it anytime you want to, Monday, Wednesday, or Friday between 4 and 7.
So it's sort of like an open gym aspect during those hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board for this gentleman? And Nicole, just so I understand, what triggers this to be a commercial application? Is it the money passing hands, the advertising, the,
No, it's the activity of inviting the public that's not related to you, to your home, and getting the teaching, the coaching. That's, it'd be like, we have a few dance studios here in town where the people use their garage space to teach dance to little girls. So, yes, they live there, but their basement or their garage is their dance studio. So they register their business with the town of Fairfield as they're teaching dance. They themselves are dance teachers, and they teach children dance.
But they
So-
pay them to do
And they get paid for it.
they pay for it?
And they
okay.
pay for it.
So it's the
Correct.
money that's kind of triggering this to be more commercial?
I mean, in my mind, money changing hands or not doesn't necessarily, I could be doing taxes for free at my house. Doesn't mean that I don't have a tax business. So the money aspect of it, I don't think makes the biggest difference in my mind, at
Okay.
least.
So, the vote tonight in front of this board is this a informal residential, we're playing in the barn program? Or is this a commercial boxing situation? You know, from what he's explaining, it seems to be a light use of space that isn't commercialized. You aren't advertising, you aren't taking money.
Right, and that's a nice comment you made about the barn, because all of my life growing up on the Dr. Mann Road in Skowhegan, there was a big old red barn there, and we used to play basketball every night, 4, 5, 6 of us. Same idea.
Okay.
But that person wasn't obtaining specialized insurance in teaching basketball to the public.
Not to the
formal
public, to his
program.
friends. I mean, he's not taking in any money. He's spending his own money, and
Yeah.
my money, I might add. And I probably already spent 10, 20 grand in this thing already, not counting the building. Just for him to go to his fights. But, I mean, the parents, any of the places that the kids have gone this spring, they've gone to New York, and they've gone to Massachusetts, they've gone to New Hampshire, and their parents have taken them there, and Justin meets them there usually. Either that or he rides with them. He rode with the people that went to New York State, but because it was a long ways away. But you know, he just does it because he likes it. I think he's stupid, but that's okay.
If it's keeping him out of trouble?
Yes, it is.
it's
That's the
cool.
only reason I'm doing it.
I do have one more question, and this is probably a good one for Nicole. Nicole, why is, at least this is coming forward to us as a potential conditional use application.
Right.
Why wouldn't it qualify for a permit by rule as a home occupation?
It could as a home occupation, but because I wasn't sure if it was a gym, you know, where he is inviting them into the formal boxing ring.
No.
Do you-
This,
That
No,
it's
it's-
not built yet, but
this
that's,
is just a practice ring.
Yeah, practice ring.
Ring, rather. It's not big enough for a fight anyway.
so they're not going to conduct formal fights there, just the training.
Yeah, it's just training, that's it.
But that's the same as a dance studio in town, doing training at the home and then doing a recital at an auditorium somewhere.
Right.
So I see this as a home commercial gym. But I would see this falling under a permit by rule as a home occupation more so than a conditional use permit.
Okay. But still, at least do that permit.
Yeah, and that's a pretty easy process, I believe. It's just
Right.
filling out a form, essentially. You don't have to come to the planning board for it.
Right.
Any other questions or comments on this? Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Yes.
Thank you, Steve. I think you're you're
Okay.
A.
Should we call for a vote on this from this board before we get back to Christopher York?
Yeah, no, I think we should settle this.
Okay. Board members, what are you thinking? Home occupation, commercial enterprise? We want to keep it as easy as we can for this gentleman here.
I think it's just a
Home occupation?
home occupation. I mean, I'm sure Nicole has to get something to pay taxes for the building. He has to pay taxes on the building. But to me, that's all he'd need. To me, it's not a business.
Okay. And how simple is the process for him, Nicole, under a home occupation?
It is a $35 permit, and then the fire chief and I, once the building is constructed and the footprint is ready, the fire chief and I will go through and make sure the life safety features are present, your exit signs, your fire extinguishers.
Pardon? You said the fire chief's gonna go through?
Yep, he'll go through with me in the home occupation portion of the building.
Okay, that's not gonna mean that I gotta put fire sprinklers in.
No, a
Okay.
fire extinguisher.
All right, because I call the whole thing done right now.
No. We're not here to make it difficult for you, sir,
Okay.
but we're trying to follow a process which is outlined in our ordinance to
I
make
get it.
sure.
I understand.
Okay? And it's for your protection as well as everybody's. Okay, I'd take a motion.
I make a motion to not make the applicant apply for a conditional use permit and instead do a home occupation permit by rule for the commercial gym activities.
Okay, did you hear that?
Yeah.
You take a second.
I'll second.
Have a second?
Is it a commercial
No.
or just private?
It's going to be a
I thought it said
home.
commercial.
I did say commercial, as it's inviting the public into a,
It's not public.
No.
Only certain people are allowed to go in there.
Correct.
They have to belong to that barking organization and not to go in there.
So what we're trying to vote on here tonight on this issue is that this is a home occupation business, not a commercial enterprise, not open to the public. So there's no big parking, there's no big bathroom requirements, but code and fire go through for exit, life safety exit code, hopefully a fire extinguisher, and that's kind of minimal.
agreed, I think a permit by rule is a fairly easy process.
Gotcha.
To allow this activity to move forward in
Gotcha.
town.
So I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I call for a vote. All those in favor? You're all set, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Down to your office tomorrow?
Sure.
Going back to item 6 on the new business, Christopher York, Greenman Peterson, representative for a preliminary sketch plan discussion on a conditional use permit application for proposed redevelopment of 247 Main Street on tax map 19, lot 157, zone commercial. Discussion on this issue.
Good evening, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for letting me speak before you tonight. I appreciate the Zoom invite as well. For the record, my name is Chris York. I'm with Greenman Peterson, representing our client. I don't think he's on here tonight. He might pop on here at some point, but our client is a Kafua Management Company. This is for a proposed Dunkin' Donuts drive-through. I can share my screen. I will bring it up on here for you. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes, we've seen the plans.
Okay. So I will show you, I'll show you the site plan first, and I'll go back to these existing conditions to show you what it looks like now. So we're proposing a 1,848 square foot Dunkin' Donuts. Would be a drive-through. We have one driveway entrance. Actually, right now there's 3 driveways on site. We're going to close off the two northerly driveways. And the southerly driveway will expand so it's wide enough for one car in, one car out. This will kind of be a typical Dunkin' Donuts layout. We'll have the driveway entrance here. We'll have parking along the side, angled parking around the rear, and have the drive-through lane, and also have the bypass lane as well. The big thing on this site is, I'll go to the existing conditions plan. So this is, if you're familiar with this site, there is about 8 or 9 buildings on this site right now. There's a 2-story house kind of located in the center of the property, and then there's 7 mobile homes scattered throughout the site. And some garages and some sheds. There's almost, it basically amounts to a subdivision road kind of coming into the site with the, driveways off of the road, each mobile home. The site is, the entire site is developed all the way back to the railroad tracks. There's a residential abutter here to the south, and then there's a commercial abutter to the north of our site. So, just wanted to show you that. I will go back to the site plan again. So I think the big thing on this site will be we're going to remove all of the existing buildings on the site. Most of our work will be kind of contained to the front center of the property. We're going to have some screening all along each side of the property. We'll get rid of everything out back here. We'll have a thin strip of landscaped grass behind the parking lot, and then out back we'll probably grow some kind of conservation seed mix. You just let this grow back in more naturally. we'll have more of a buffer on this side for the residential neighbor on this side. I think what else is it? We're gonna get rid of the 2 driveways, just have the one. We met with Maine DOT, a month ago, had a pre-scoping meeting, that seemed to go fine. They don't anticipate any need for any turning lanes. No, but obviously as we go through that process more, we'll find out for certain, but it sounded like they don't anticipate any turning lanes being required out on Main Street. So, other than that, I mean, once we get into a full design, obviously these, the drainage, all the new impervious area will be captured with probably some underground drainage or infiltration, depending on what our test pits show for soils. Obviously, we won't be dumping any water off site that isn't going there now. We this water and sewer out here on Main Street, so we'll be tying into those with the new services to the Dunkin' Donuts building. Other than that, I'll pass it back to the board. I can take any questions and comments and suggestions you may have on this one, and I appreciate the time.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board?
I didn't realize it was a Dunkin' Donuts. I didn't think the paperwork said that.
It was not on the paperwork that it was a Dunkin' Donuts, but if you recognize the plan, that's a Dunkin' Donuts.
okay.
But,
We called it a quick serve drive-through restaurant on the plan, but yes, it will be a Dunkin' Donuts.
okay.
I had 4 questions. The first, is there going to be indoor seating at this proposed restaurant?
Yeah, there'll be about approximately 20 to 25 seats.
Okay. What are you planning for buffer around the site? And most importantly, I would think, is to the south against the residential property?
Yeah, we'll definitely add a bunch of landscaping along, both sides of the property, especially along the southerly side. We certainly offer any suggestions in terms of any other buffer suggestions, but at the very least, definitely will really thicken this area up with some landscaping. Fencing, I suppose, is if that's something you look into, we can look into that as well.
Yeah, I would think some sort of fencing and then probably some larger shrubs or trees are warranted where this is an existing residential site. And then the neighbor's pretty close by and will be substantially impacted by headlights where they haven't been previously, as well as noise from the business. So that's something that at least I would be looking for. Was there, and I'm unfamiliar with obviously the design of Dunkin' Donuts properties, and I'm sure you have a much better understanding, but one thing that kind of struck me looking at it was, is there enough space for cars in the queue to keep them out of Main Street with the current layout? And is there an opportunity to extend the drive-through queue further back by elongating the paved area?
Yeah, that's Maine DOT always, that's their main, no pun intended, that's their main concern. We have 12 cars shown on the, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 12 cars shown in the drive-through queue, plus there's room for about 3 or 4 more, to the entrance. So we have room for about 16 cars queuing, which is typically more than enough. I can look into it a little more, whether we can.
Yeah, it might be something to consider.
Back a little bit, but
Is there
yeah,
an
typically.
opportunity to, and I know that's more paving, more cost, keep having the drive-through boards further from the restaurant, so I understand that there are challenges with doing it, but I would hate for us to get into a situation where there's on weekday mornings at 7 to 9, a line of traffic all the way back to the Purple Cow.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, I'll take a look at that. I mean,
Yeah.
typically we show
Something to
that many
consider.
bases in a queuing lane, so.
Yep, and 16 may be more than sufficient from what you've seen with other properties in towns similar to Fairfield.
Yep.
And then my final question was with the water and sewer service to this building here. DOT is likely shared with you, but if not, this portion of Main Street is planning to be paved this summer and will be in a moratorium for 5 years. Is there any
Okay.
plan to bring the utility stubs onto the property prior to that paving?
I am unsure of that. I will check on that, if that is a possibility. So do you know, so this summer is when it's planning on being paved?
Yes, from the Waterville line all the way up to past the DOT garage on Skowhegan Road.
Okay. And I'll check our existing conditions plan. This one doesn't show, but the utility stubs, we may be able to tie into the water and sewer on our property. I'll check into that, especially the sewer. I think the sewer we probably should be able to tie into on our property. Water I'll check into that.
Okay. That was all I had.
Very good, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board?
What are the hours you plan on be operating? Is it 24 hours or?
Excuse me, did you get that question?
I did, yes.
Okay.
I do not know. I will try and find that out before the meeting is over.
Okay.
At the moment, I do not know those hours, but I will get that answer for you.
Because I'm concerned about like school buses doing that morning and afternoons. When they tie the traffic up pretty bad around it coming through there.
They'll be the biggest customer, the school buses.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments for this application? Go ahead.
What kind of, quote, fast food is going to be served at this restaurant drive-through?
Okay. Is this your normal menu, do you know? The quick coffee and egg McMuffin
Yes.
kind of thing? Normal Dunkin' Donuts?
Yep, exactly, yep.
Okay.
So it looks like hours would be 5 a.m. to 11 p.m.
5 a.m. to 11 p.m. Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else from our board? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, I appreciate it. Nicole, I'll give you a call tomorrow just to kind of follow up and next steps and everything. So I appreciate it. I
Thank
appreciate the
you.
invite.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda, C, Mainly Trust's conditional use permit application to construct a cold storage building, 125 by 200 at 7 Truss Lane on tax map 1, lot 2, in the industrial land use district. Discussion and decision. Thank you, Jeff. Any questions or comments for Jeff now on this project? No sewer, no water, no heat, just power, just cold storage.
I did have a couple questions.
Go.
On the site plan, it looks as though around the building to the eastern side, there's going to be a driveway built. Is there any tree clearing or wetland infilling associated with this?
No, that area is already a grass area, and so getting around the back side of the building is basically either on grass or existing gravel in that area. There has been in the past some wetland filling before. That's the cross-hatched area that's shown on the plan, but there's no additional filling proposed.
Okay, that was another question I had, was what was the hatched area?
Yeah.
And then on the plan, it shows a property now formerly Francis Frappier. Is that just that dash kind of L-shaped property, not the entire wetland area?
That's correct.
Okay.
That property now has been purchased by Mainly Trusts.
Oh, okay.
That's the mapping that we had was older.
I noticed the pitch of the roof is all water will be drained towards the wetland. Is there any sort of design in mind to mitigate erosion down into the wetland area?
I think there'll probably be some sort of a channel there of stone, so that the water will go off and go onto stone. I don't know if it would be defined as an underdrain or a drip edge filter, because we're not proposing any new impervious area, but I would imagine they'd want some sort of a stone line channel at that drip edge to dissipate some of that energy.
That's all I had. I think it's a
Okay.
reasonable building.
Any other questions or comments for Jeff from the board? Nicole, finding of fact now?
Yes, if you're ready to do that.
I'm ready to do that.
I would also just note that we did receive a note from the fire chief indicating that there was no concerns regarding lake safety.
Okay.
And Nicole forwarded a copy of that to me as well.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Very good. Findings, conditional use findings of fact, 7 Truss Lane, expansion, new cold storage building structure, cold storage structure, 125 by 200. I am only going to read the items in this finding of fact that are applicable, because there is so much that isn't applicable, because it's unheated building. A site plan to scale showing at a minimum the location of existing and proposed structures and the distance from lot lines, water bodies, water supply, and sewage disposal facilities submitted to the planning board with the application. Existing topographical contours are shown on the site plan. A proposed grading at contour intervals not greater than 5 feet is shown on the site plan. Site improvements as highlighted on the site plan. Landscaping and buffer areas as currently existing, no changes proposed. Stormwater and erosion control structures as shown on the site plan. A list of name and addresses of landowners within 200 feet of the property boundary submitted with the application. Letters to abutters were mailed out on February 23rd, 2024, notifying of tonight's public hearing on this application via Zoom meeting and/or at 61 Water Street. A legal notice was placed in the Morning Sentinel on Sunday, February 25th, 2024. An erosion control plan prepared by a registered professional engineer as explained in the application. Erosion control methods will be used during construction with silt fence and/or bark mulch berms. A stormwater management plan prepared by a registered professional engineer. Existing impervious surface, no change in stormwater C site plan. Findings. The development will not create unsafe or unhealthy conditions within the neighborhood in which it is located and shall not create or exacerbate effects upon the neighboring properties. The proposed cold storage building expansion project in the industrial land use district has been designed to be compliance with the requirements of the district and the existing commercial use of the property. The items currently stored outside will now be stored inside the new building, new storage building in the same impervious location. The development will not create or add to traffic congestion at or below level D of surface as defined and will not create unsafe traffic movements on public roads. As described in the application, the proposed expansion will not result in the creation of traffic congestion to the surrounding area and will not increase traffic to the businesses. The development will not result in undue reduction of air or water quality or wildlife habitat and will not cause undue flooding or soil erosion. The proposed project will not result in the reduction of air or water quality or wildlife habitat and will not create undue flooding or soil erosion. See the stormwater site plans for the project design and erosion control measures to be used. The development will not, to the greatest extent feasible, preserve historic, prehistoric, or archaeological requirements. There is no known identified historic, prehistoric, or archaeological resources on this site. The development will not cause undue strain on public facilities or services, including public roads, water supply, sewage disposal, solid waste systems, police, educational, or other services. The project will not cause an undue strain on public facilities or services. The project will not utilize water or sewer system. The application has sufficient financial and technological capacity to complete the development. The applicant owns Hancock Lumber, mainly trusses, and has the financial capacity to complete the project. The development is consistent with the Fairfield Comprehensive Plan and in compliance with state and federal law, as well as ordinances, rules, and regulations of the town, including the performance standards of the land use ordinance, unless the board acts to waive said standard. The business expansion is consistent with the Fairfield Comprehensive Plan and is designed in a designed growth area in the industrial zone. Decision. Based on the above facts and conclusions, on March 4th, 2024, the planning board voted to approve or not approve conditional use application for Mainly Trust's cold storage building application. I take a motion.
Take a motion to accept.
Motion to accept.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I call for a vote. All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
I'll send that over tomorrow to you. Thank you.
Next item, item D, revision to the final subdivision plan for DW LLC Reservoir Hill Subdivision, Route 104, to construct Phase 1 of the proposed subdivision off Norwich Walk Road on former Kennebec Water District land, consisting of 150 plus or minus acres on tax map 2, lot 9 in the rural district. The revision would add lots 14, 15, and 16 to the Phase 1 plan. Discussion and decision. Randy, how are you tonight?
I'm well. How are you folks?
Good.
Does everybody have a plan? I've got some extra copies if anybody should need one.
I think I gave them all one.
Okay, very good. So just to give you some background, most of you, I think, were here when we got approval for this. It's been a couple of years, or so, a year and a half ago. It's mostly a residential subdivision. Excuse me. There is one lot on the site that is for duplexes, another lot that's for commercial development, small commercial. Excuse me, got a frog all of a sudden. But primarily, the intent of the subdivision is for single-family residential construction. As you may remember, we came in initially with a plan that showed, I think it was 28 lots, and then we decided to pare that back to do it in kind of phases. You know, Phase 1 is what we have, what you folks approved, and that was essentially 13 lots. And then you have seen Phase 2, which would be an extension of the roads and so forth to east. So during the process of building, they have started building the roads. The roads are pretty well roughed in and drivable and so forth. They've started building some of the pads for the duplexes and so forth, so they're making good progress over the winter. So in the process of doing this, Bill Sanborn is the owner of the business, DW LLC. He's also the owner of Ranger Construction. His son has intent to set up on one of these, to occupy one of the lots. So in the process of building, said, yeah, I think I want this lot here. And it's outside of Phase 1. It's actually part of Phase 2. So what is shown as Lot 15 on your plan, almost dead center of your plan there, is Lot 15 that he wishes to occupy it. Previously, on the older plan, it was a double lot. We've combined it to make it one single lot. In the process of building a road out to get to that, we'll be bypassing Lot 14 as well as Lot 16. So we said, well, let's open up those two lots as well for development. So this extension of Reservoir Lane, for the time being, will just be built for private road, you know, maintained by the developer and so forth. Eventually, the goal would be long-term for the town to take that over, but that will be a ways down the road. So the public road for now would end just beyond Gravel Street. In other words, just before, pretty much right at the line of Lot 14 is the intent for the public road to stop there for now. And you'll notice that we say, I've got the note there on Reservoir Lane between lots 14 and 16 labeled as private section. And a note called out there that the east end of Reservoir Lane to remain private and to be maintained by developer until accepted by town of Fairfield. There's a T turnaround there out at the end to satisfy the Public Works Director. If they should need to go out there, generally speaking, there wouldn't be any need for the town crew, especially to go out there. I suppose perhaps school buses or fire trucks may eventually get out that way. But, I think that's it. If you have any questions, I'll welcome them.
Question, Randy. So this Reservoir Lane extension is private for now, but going to be accepted by the town?
Well, we hope.
Okay.
Right. No guarantee of that, but.
And is there going to be a temporary turnaround installed at the end of what is going to be the current public street? Is there going to be a turnaround stub?
Right, yes, the intent is to use Gravel Street. It's right there, just, 60, 70 feet. The transition from public to private is about 60 or 70 feet beyond Gravel Street. So
Okay.
the intent is to use that Gravel Street as the turnaround. And that's been run by Bruce,
Right.
Public Works. And
But
he's
the correspondence I saw said, oh, sure, we'll just push the snow in the road and leave it there and you can deal with it. Well, that's not really a permanent solution. However, if Gravel Street is the turnaround and the town can push the snow onto Gravel Street, normally there's a Y turnaround or a T turnaround. They're usually 75 by 75, and it's a place to store snow at a turnaround. So, kind of funky that you're going to do that in the middle of a road because.
Well, I think we've got the advantage here where it's Ranger Construction, so they've got their equipment, and it's the son, one of the owners of Ranger Construction that lives out here. So it's a scenario where there's high incentive to get this plowed out and so forth. So
Because after a big storm, the Fairfield plows are going to leave a big pile of snow to clear.
Right,
Okay.
exactly, right.
And,
But, right, any other site, I certainly would understand the situation here, but where it's Ranger Construction is essentially on-site, they'll have facilities there and equipment large enough to take care of that, so that's kind of the.
Did you lay out that center line in those roads?
No, it was laid out by Ranger's crew, and property pins will be set by, I guess I'm not sure if property pins have been set yet. I don't believe they have, because we didn't want to disturb them, but those will be set by an actual land surveyor.
So
Ranger has a surveyor on hand that's very familiar with GPS layout and so forth, so that's who they're using for the road layout.
So there's no property pins, there's no center lines, there's no vertical or horizontal control.
I wouldn't say that, no, they're setting everything by GPS. Yes, there's control. They're laying it out, they've got equipment mounted on their, GPS equipment mounted on their equipment, so yes, there is control being done. It's not being done by us, but it's being done by them.
Whom is going to put in writing that this thing has been built to town standards?
We will, what the plan is, the original plan was for them to grub the road and so forth, and for us to get some shots on as they went along.
Right.
There was a bit of a disconnect in communication. That did not happen, so our plan, and we've talked to Bruce Williams about this and confirmed that he's agreeable. We were able to check, maybe to a couple hundred feet of it, so we do have information on the subgrade on a couple hundred feet of it, but there's probably 1,200 feet or so installed. So what we're going to do in the springtime, when the spring thaws, goes out and so forth, we'll do some test pits every so often to confirm that they've got the adequate gravel depth.
How does test pit determine that the sub-base is crowned properly?
Yeah, that's a fair question.
Okay.
That's a fair question.
And again, I go out there, first of all, it's not Bruce's job to review layout and.
Right.
Okay.
No.
And I see no horizontal control, no vertical control. There is about 4 feet of fill on your cross-section on your profile, there's about 3.5 feet of fill at station 8, 9, 10, where the sediment pond is to be installed on lot 15. I saw that.
Oh, well, okay, out that far. I haven't looked at that profile recently, but
Okay.
you very well could be right.
Okay, and you're aware that he's advertising to sell these?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Questions or comments from the board?
When I looked at this and read Bruce's letter, I immediately thought, what a mess this could become with the town dumping snow at a private driveway or private road. That I understand the owner's son is going to live at lot 15. All for it. But what about 16 and 14 when Ranger's not around to plow? And me, without a plow truck, without any way to get a massive pile of snow out, for me to get out of lot 16, I think is a recipe for disaster for the town, having a lack of place to put the snow. My biggest question is, why not just keep all of Reservoir Lane from the intersection of Easy Street up private? And then the town can plow snow off as they go around Reservoir Lane down to Easy Street. I don't see any major benefit to keeping that public.
The sequence, it may end up being that way anyways, just as you said. Because nothing's saying that this is being turned over to the town. It's all going to come to a vote anyway, so just even approving this plan doesn't guarantee that the town's going to approve that. So what you say very well may work out. What their plan is when they build this extension, this section that we've called as private, is they fully intend to build it as if it's going to be the final product. It just makes sense. They're building the road anyway, so they might as well build it out. It's easier to build it right now at whatever the required width is, instead of just building a 20-foot road. They'll build it to 28 feet or whatever the required road width is. So the way I see it, and I can't guarantee this is the way it's going to happen, but the way I'm expecting it's going to happen is that they'll build Reservoir Lane pretty much the same specs as the first part, and then when they get ready, they won't turn it over to the town until it's ready to pave anyways, even that first part of Reservoir Lane. They may very well say, well, let's just pave the rest of it and turn the whole thing over at one time, maybe the sequence that is set up there.
I agree with Mac, because even gravel street is private.
Correct, right.
So why not stop right at Easy Street for the town?
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I would like to see the plan come back showing private drive, a private road all the way from Easy Street up, just so it's blatantly clear that the town is not expected to handle snow on 200 feet of road with nowhere to put it.
Okay, so you're saying to go Reservoir Lane as far as Easy Street and then up Easy Street to remain...
Past Easy Street on Reservoir Lane, make that entire section private, and then Bruce's concerns are none, because the town will still be able to plow snow down Easy Street into the turnarounds at the end or whatnot. I mean, yes, there's going to be probably more snow at a corner intersection.
Right, that's what I'm concerned about there. I'm not sure if it accomplishes what you're hoping it will. One way to handle it, I'm trying to think of one way to handle it, may certainly be that the town doesn't take it over until this is resolved.
Well, the fact remains...
When I say that, I mean until the whole thing is built, and its T turnaround out at the end, opposite lot 15 is constructed, maybe one solution.
But then the town wouldn't be plowing all the way up to that turnaround.
The town wouldn't be plowing, period, until everything is ready.
Agreed, but even once the T turnaround is built and whatnot, the town would be expected, once it's all accepted and paving is complete, the portion of Reservoir Lane that's being added, that would still be there, and the town wouldn't have any right to plow that street.
No, what I'm saying is that my thought would be that build it right, build it to town standards, so that all of that can be turned over at the
Can
same
be
time.
accepted at one
Right.
time.
And maybe that's the way to handle this. Maybe we do a condition on the plans saying that the town will not accept Reservoir Lane until the entire thing is constructed to town standards. That may be one way to address that, if that meets your concerns.
I mean, I'd be okay with putting a condition of approval that the town will not accept Reservoir Lane, but east of Easy Street until the entire portion of Reservoir Lane, including the private section, is to be accepted. Because I just feel like there's really no benefit to the developer or the town to have a 200-foot dead end, quote unquote, dead end of public roadway.
Right.
At least that's how I feel.
Yeah.
And then my other comment on the plans would be the proposed T turnaround at the end of Reservoir Street. Our ordinance requires that be a 90-degree angle with the main road. And it doesn't appear to be a 90-degree angle. So that's something that,
Yeah, that's, came back from the surveyor that way, and I said, I think part of it is that remember that, that L17, I think it's 60 by 60 is what that is. So even though the property line, so to speak, is not square, the T turnaround itself can be within that. I believe that can be square to the road. The intent was so that that be kind of at the center line of the curve, and that eventually that will become a driveway to this next lot that is headed into the lot adjacent to 16. That's why it's positioned there. It's kind of positioned to be at the center of the curves for sight distance, to be able to look both ways. And that was my intent, that it go in at right angles. It didn't come back that way, but I do think that it, I think there's enough space there, because the turnaround itself, I believe, only has to be 20 feet wide, maybe 24 feet wide. So there's enough room within that, even though the right-of-way itself is at an angle. I believe that the driving surface can be at 90 degrees.
I would make that a condition of approval as well.
Sure.
We see those wide turnarounds everywhere anyway, much better than cul-de-sacs. The highway guys hate cul-de-sacs.
Yeah.
But these seem to work good for pushing snow and stacking snow at the end of the road and the end of the turnaround.
Right.
That's fine. Since he's marketing to sell lots on a road that hasn't been built yet, with ditch lines and water and drainage not completed, no pins, no obvious vertical control, are there going to be deed notifications on these transfer titles, letting these buyers know that this is a private, constructed by builder roads, and the town of Fairfield has no responsibility to accept this unless it's proven to beat the town standards? Because he's not even letting you do the layout, he's not asking you to do inspection, but we're relying on GPS equipment to say it's built to town standards. I mean, we have been haunted, okay, 15 years ago by, I don't want to mention Sturdivants, but people selling lots on roads that haven't been built yet, haven't been accepted yet, and these poor people come to us crying, well, when are you going to plow my road? I own this lot. When are you going to, Well, wait a minute. The developer is gone. He doesn't care. And we got crying girls in the audience here to take over roads that haven't been built or accepted. So to avoid that for this town in the future, and that's a huge liability, to know that this town is going to have to accept a road, maintain it, repair it, replace it, especially if it hasn't been inspected and built to standards, and or the poor buyers of these things needs to know in writing, on deed, hold it. This is a private road, and we're building it, but nobody's watching. But, if the town of Fairfield doesn't show up and start plowing this, those lot owners are going to be buying plows up to Heights, I guess. It's not a great situation or position to leave this town in, the way it's currently being managed, especially saying, okay, push the snow in the middle of the road, we'll clean it up later. Well, poor guy on lot 14, trying to get to work, it's really not not a great situation, that these would be constructed to town standards, installed as engineered, inspected as engineered, completed with drainage and ditch lines, and paved. Okay, now we're selling lots. Okay, we're really, it's buyer beware here. And again, I would just feel real bad if some gal come in here and I bought lot, 14, whatever. Those kind of things haunt planning boards and haunt towns if they're not done correctly and appropriately. And I, for one, don't want to sit here and listen to some girl tell me that she bought a lot on a road that wasn't built yet, and it's the town of Fairfield's responsibility to complete that road.
Right.
That's a burden on this town that isn't part of our agreements here. And it's cool that he's doing this. It's great. We love the development. We want to encourage tax base. Don't get me wrong. But the liability that runs with that is of concern to me, that's all. Any other questions or comments about this extension project?
I think you've said it all.
Okay, well, we're here tonight to...
I would say echo your concerns.
Okay, again, selfishly, I'm the town of Fairfield. And selfishly, Bruce isn't going to be there forever, but the poor replacement of Bruce is going to have his hands full if we don't think this through to be maintained properly by the town's plow companies. And I'd like Max's suggestion that maybe this ends at the reservoir turn to the left on Easy Street, then the town of Fairfield just takes a left. Okay?
I'm not opposed to that. I guess my only concern there is, excuse me, I'm going to end up with a pile of snow there as well at that corner. That's the only thing. I'm just not sure if it's going
But
to
you're going to
totally
end
solve
up
it.
with less of a pile of snow, because if we say that we're going to
Okay,
use
yep.
gravel lane for the turnaround,
Okay.
he's going to push snow 75 feet past gravel lane.
Right.
Back up, push the snow up to gravel lane. Now he's blocked 2 roads, and now he can turn around and go out.
Right.
Whereas if he's, Max's suggestion, taking a left on Easy Street, put your directional on, take a left. Okay?
Right.
We haven't plowed and pushed up a 15-foot snowbank.
Right.
That freezes overnight, maybe.
Right, and
That-
in that scenario, I guess that snowbank, if you're just taking the turn up Easy Street, that snowbank is no taller than it would be for any other individual driveway. So-
Right.
And that'd be reasonable. If you want to change that, make that a condition, I think that'd be fine.
Okay.
To do that if you want to go that route.
And the other concern, the town would have no right to put snow on gravel street. There may be an agreement between
Hate those.
the plow truck driver and the developer, but there'd be no formal ability for the town to deposit snow from public reservoir lane onto private gravel street, regardless of anything is built on that street or not.
Sure.
Just from a liability perspective.
Yep. Yep. No, I think that'd be an easy way to resolve that. If you want to make that part of the conditions, we'll add that to the plan.
Now, do you have any other concerns about the part of Reservoir Lane that's going to be a city street and/or Easy Street that, again, there's no ditch line drainage, there's no survey pins, there's no apparent horizontal and vertical control?
I don't have any question at all. As far as the quality of what's going in, even though we haven't been there right through, anytime we have been out there, it's looked fine. Their survey equipment is higher grade than what we have for survey equipment, so I don't have any concerns about this.
Is this Boynton?
No, Boynton is the land surveyor, so they'll be the ones that will eventually set the pins.
Okay. And eventually, when does eventually happen? Do you know?
Well, it'll certainly have to be before they sell any lots. So for whatever lot's being sold, they'll have to have pins set ahead of time. Their concern was they just didn't want to get out there. Ordinarily, as you know, ordinarily you do want pins set ahead of time, but in this scenario where Ranger has the equipment, they do this is their business, right? This is all that they do is working with GPS, doing streets all over the state. So they've got the equipment to do it right. And so it makes sense for them to do it, get the work done, then come in, set the pins so that they know they're not going to be disturbing those pins and having to set them twice. That's the big rationale around it. So you may have not seen, I think most of what they've got for control is actually on the bulldozer, and on the excavator and so forth. They've actually got, GPS-controlled equipment on there. And as I say, we have checked a little bit of it, a small portion for sure, but we have checked some of it.
The advertising I saw, was that for Lot 13?
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, I haven't, when you say, I've seen his board out there,
But there's...
I haven't seen anything different. I don't know. Is there
These lots
something-
are on the MLS website.
Yeah, on the
And
MLS.
it is Lot 13, and 13 is way out at the end,
Yeah.
Right.
and, man,
I guess I don't know what kind of teeth you as a town have. I was surprised to see that he had listed it. I'm not sure who has jurisdiction over that to prevent that, or...
well, I've been in front of a planning board before that said, take the sign down and come back and we'll approve your project. Norwich Walk Board said that to me, and they were absolutely right,
Yep.
okay? Took the sign down.
Right.
But it's listed...
But that was before you even got approval, though, right?
No, I had preliminary approval, and I had pinned it and surveyed it, and I hadn't have final approval. Take the sign down. You can't sell a lot on an unapproved road without, it just,
Right.
So this is where I'm going.
Right.
I think that any of these that he thinks he's passing title, if I showed up and said, I'll take it, will they deed it to me tomorrow?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm not...
Well,
I'm not-
they can't because there's no pins.
I wouldn't think so. Right, right.
So, again, it's kind of a funky deal. I understand cash flow is king. I understand that we really need to get some money on this because there's a lot of money out. I get all that. But I personally would love to think that there's some deed acknowledgements that the buyer acknowledges in writing. I'm buying what I see. It's not completed, it's not drained, it's not finished, it's not pinned, it's not...
Well, yeah, I guess, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah,
Because-
I guess I don't know. Yeah,
If someone
I
bought
see the
lot
concern.
13 tomorrow,
Right,
what do you got?
right,
Well, I own that lot over there.
right.
Give me the description. Well, I don't have one yet.
I would even buy one like that.
I
wouldn't.
I'm just trying to avoid if someone does and comes, sits in that chair and says, hey, when are you going to finish my road?
Right.
Okay, and my drainage?
Right.
Okay? And again, I get it. I know why. We're trying to get some cash. I know that. But it's very risky for the buyers and the town of Fairfield, I think. So I'd hate to think that he has full authority to start selling these lots when they're not completed yet.
Yeah,
Would you buy that lot?
well, that's really irrelevant, but
You answered my
I
question.
understand,
Yeah.
but I understand your, but I
And I don't
understand the
mean to put you
concern.
on
I guess I'm not sure what kind of teeth there are. Yes, I can talk to him, but that doesn't mean anything. I don't know if the town has any authority to stop him from selling or from advertising, or if there's some
I would
other-
question if
or-
we
or-
have, yeah, I would question if we can do anything on the previously approved subdivision, because it's fully approved at this point.
But it's not
It's
pinned.
correct, the streets are not complete, and at this point, I think it's kind of buyer beware.
Big time.
We could make a condition of approval around lots 14, 15, and 16, because that's what's in front of us right now. But does that really fix the problem? No.
Does code enforcement have any jurisdiction, I guess, over that?
What do you think, Nicole?
Not on a approved subdivision that you're holding a bond on, because you do have the insurance bond to complete the work if he does not.
Right.
So that is your assurance.
And you make sure that the town manager watches that bond like a hawk and it doesn't expire.
Yeah, it's due to expire next May, so currently it's
When you
still
say-
in force.
When you say next, you're talking in 2 months?
May of 25.
25.
A year
Yeah.
and 2 months.
Gotcha.
Again, if that bond goes and 5 lots have sold, we're in the road construction business. Okay? So, again, it's just funky that, and that's why we talked phase. Phase, finish a phase, sell a lot. Next phase, finish the phase, sell a lot.
Right.
And here we are tonight, okay, phase one is extending, and it's not really completed yet, but we're selling some. Okay, I've said my piece on that,
I
I'm
think
done.
a good thing for us as a board to think about in the future when we see developments like this are conditions of approval around the town accepting roads prior to selling any lots. Something to consider.
Well, this particular project has a bunch of different commercial uses, commercial garages, his stuff, his duplexes, his stuff, and it'd be pretty hard for us to restrict what he's doing for himself. I'm just, concerned about the naive homeowner buyer type thing, that's all. Okay, what's your flavor? We're at discussion and decision. Extending the road, tax map, total line, rural resident, the revision would add lots 14, 15, 16 to phase one plan. We've had plenty of discussion.
I make a motion that we approve the subdivision modification with the condition that Reservoir Lane to the east of Easy Street is maintained as a private road, and the T turnaround at the end of the private section of Reservoir Lane is constructed at a right angle.
Any discussion on that?
Would we really care about the right angle if we're not plowing it?
For fire trucks turning around.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
in our ordinance that it's required to be a 90-degree angle on private roads.
Okay.
Because you've got a 70-foot fire truck.
You're right. Yep.
Okay, would you repeat that one more time, please, for the board?
Sure. I make a motion that we accept the revised subdivision with conditions that Reservoir Lane east of Easy Street be maintained as a private road until the entire section is accepted by the town, and the T turnaround at the end of the private section of Reservoir Lane be constructed at a right angle.
So can I second that?
You can, I take a second.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion on that? Hearing none, I'd call for a vote. All those in favor? Okay,
All right,
thank you, Randy.
thank you very much. And you can get me the wording on that, the conditions, and I can add that.
Yeah, I'll work on that, and then I'll get it over to you. So you're going to revise the plan and bring it forward for the planning board to sign?
Correct,
Okay.
right.
So
And-
once he gets those conditions.
Right, and I can check with them, it may not be a big deal for them actually to change those property lines up at the T.
I would prefer that.
Yeah, I think we can make that happen without too much effort, so we'll try to make that part of the revision.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Randy.
Randy. Item 7, items by the public. Any items tonight by the public on any of these issues?
Do you know what price point we're selling the lot, he's selling the lot at? I do know that. I understand what you're saying, Steve.
It's advertised for $49,900 for lot 13.
So you're worried about someone's just gonna come in and get Bill 50 grand and he's gonna sell them a lot tomorrow, and they're not gonna know exactly what there is, but I mean,
A good,
they're not gonna get a loan unless they,
well, let's say they have the money.
yeah.
They
no, I
inherited
mean,
it.
If they have saved up 50 grand and they're
Yep.
gonna go get a joint.
Yep.
Let's hope,
Let-
there's quite a bit of recourse that's set right on the homeowner's shoulder, right? I mean, unless it's some kind of their elder abuse going on.
Well-
hammer and pinch.
Let's hope that there's a good real estate attorney at the closing,
Yeah.
and he's advising them appropriately.
And you would give Bill the push to pin what's necessary for that lot to be sold, so that they could square up. I understand what you're saying for sure, but I don't necessarily know that I'd be so worried about them coming in here and banging down your door because, again, it doesn't affect me one way or the other, but I wouldn't necessarily be worried about it. If I was gonna go spend 50 grand, I'd be making sure I do my due diligence first.
Are you an abutting owner?
I'm across the street.
Across the street? At the Echo House?
No, I just own land.
Okay.
Planning on building down the road, but maybe not.
Very good.
Sounds like a bit of a trick.
Does not have to be. You can make it that way.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Actually, though, I mean, if you were going to down the road, I mean, it seems to me, I mean, common sense wise, that you would just go and get an engineer to help you plan out the entire project, right?
Which is what
Which
Randy
is what you have. Okay, so why, okay, I guess I'm missing where shouldn't they know all your ordinances and be able and have everything up to your code and of inspection before they come here with their plan?
Part of it is on Bill.
That's what Randy does,
Oh, I
but
see.
He's
So
throwing
you're the
things.
engineer?
Right, there's two phases to it. Yes, we designed it that way, but then the phase two is make sure they build it that way.
Bill just put his for sale sign out maybe a little early.
Oh, I
Which
see.
he's just trying to drum up business.
I just thought that would be
I
a
understand.
simpler way to do it.
I
is
understand that.
If they brought it to you with all your specs already on the plans, why is this such
Well-
a challenge?
the simpler way would be to have Randy be doing the inspections that it's being built to those standards.
As it goes.
Yes.
And
But
who's Randy?
Randy is Derigo Engineering.
But what Randy was saying during that is there was a little miscommunication in the beginning, and some things were built a little bit further along, and he didn't get to test them. Is that what you were saying? He didn't
Kind of.
pour everything in the road.
Kind of.
I said this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Items by the clerk of the board, memo from the town distributed to members. Thank you for coming tonight.
So you all got the memo from the town council, from Michelle,
Yep.
on maybe a discussion with the planning board to kind of think about it and get back to her for maybe the April or May meeting, come up with, if you feel that it's necessary for a rate of growth ordinance, so just something to think about.
And for the board's edification, the two issues that the council brought to our attention was the pot industry. They didn't want to maybe do a moratorium on pot stores and pot growing, and also on solar farms. For their information, we as a board did not allow pot businesses to go on the Main Street zone, and that goes from where to where, Nicole?
Main Street zone
Can we
starts
pause?
about,
The audience, audience,
Oh, sorry.
if you have private discussions, could you do that outside? It's very
Okay,
disrupting to
thanks,
our
guys.
business.
Sorry about that.
oh, that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you. So it starts at about the Purple Cow is the Main Street district, because then it picks up commercial north of that, and then it goes all the way to Hootamaki. That's your
Okay,
Main Street
So from
district.
Hootamaki to beyond the Purple Cow
Right.
is no pot businesses, which is what this board implemented when it first came on, okay? So what they're talking about is a moratorium for an unknown period of time for
Any zone?
any zone, I guess. is what they're
That's
saying.
what my understanding was, that it's a moratorium on the town-wide moratorium regarding cannabis businesses and large-scale solar development.
Gotcha. You want to talk about any of that tonight, or wait until the next meeting?
I have a question on something else.
Sure.
You came forward and talked with the commissioners.
Town council?
Council.
Town council, yeah. And how did that go?
It went really well. The town council didn't have any substantial questions, none that I can even remember, regarding the changes that we had put forth, or recommended changes we had put forth to the land use ordinance. So it got accepted as we recommended.
We did good then.
We did good, yes.
All those hours, yes, I believe so.
I was curious, I hadn't heard.
Yeah.
And Max went to them and presented, which was
Yeah.
great. I'm glad that
Thank
he
you,
did that.
Max.
Thank
I know
you.
it wasn't easy.
Right. And as we think towards May now, and we're looking at this moratorium stuff, a couple things I want you all to keep in mind before, and we will ask for a vote before I go to the council in May, on what your opinion is on these moratoriums. But keep in mind that the mill rate in Fairfield is higher right now than any area town. I pay taxes in all these towns. Fairfield is the highest. So we're either, to think that we would stop development or curtail any of it when we're the highest mill rate. Keep in mind, buyers, developers and buyers and builders come here. They won't go to a town that's got a high mill rate, okay? And the buyers are very wise. They know the mill rates in Belgrade, Oakland, Winslow, Waterville, Fairfield, Benton. They know the mill rates. Fairfield is the highest right now. That's number one, okay? So if we're thinking of stopping development and tax base to decrease our mill rate, that's how it happens. And as far as solar farms go, if we consider, and the board will vote, to stop solar farms. Solar farms, for example, the little solar farm on the dump over here has $3.6 million of value that we send a tax bill to. Now, the state reimburses us half of that, okay? So here we have a dump with solar panels on it that has a value of $3.6 million. And that's a small little thing. It's 5, 6, 7 acres, right? So if we had a 100-acre solar farm come, and that would be, I don't know, $120 million of tax base. And you send a tax bill to that solar company. There's no cost to this town for plowing new roads, turning on streetlights, putting kids in our school. All those things cost us money. So the solar farms that turn revenue to this town have no burden on this town. So we want to absolutely look at the facts and decide if solar farms, or even any of these commercial uses, help reduce our mill rate to make us more inviting, or if we stop that development, theoretically, because we're going through a revaluation, which should help that mill rate, but that's not due for 2 more years, Nicole?
It's a 4-year phase-in, so this was year 1, so 3 more years.
Yep.
And then you'll have your adjusted rates.
So for the next 4 years, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to enjoy the highest tax rate of every town around us, including Waterville, who is always predominantly higher. Okay, so that's a little interesting. And third, go ahead.
So what is the main reason our tax rate is high? Is it education, or is it,
You have tax base, people paying taxes, and then you've got spending. So if your spending is up here,
I know that.
and your tax base is here, your mill rate's high.
I know that. Why, though? Do we have a very expensive police department? Do we have a very expensive fire department? Do we have,
We have expensive all departments.
yeah.
My understanding, the mill rate is obviously a metric, but regardless, the town has to come up with X amount of dollars. So if the home values are substantially lower than they should be, the mill rate has to be higher to multiply by that home value to get the tax value. The revaluation process is going to bring up the home values, which will lower the mill rate to still get us that budget number that we need for the community. So the mill rate's a metric.
And that's
Is
based
that
on,
why the residents of, say, Winslow are crying because theirs was lifted up?
The Winslow did their reassessment,
Yeah.
and the value of homes, the average value of homes increased in Winslow.
That's what I figured.
In theory, that should decrease the mill rate.
correct.
I have no knowledge of what Winslow did. They could have increased their spending so that their mill rate had to stay the same. The goal, I think, around Fairfield is to keep spending pretty much the same. So when the home value rises, the mill rate lowers. So when you multiply those two, you still get that same budget level.
Winslow's reval, which I got last fall, my lots went from 25,000 to 68,000.
Wow.
Okay? And currently, there's a couple lots in my project there that just got listed for 71,000. So lot values have increased, their spending might have stayed the same, but they've got some interesting sewer costs that they're put off.
Right. Who knows what they did
put
with
off
their
a lot of
spending.
Sewer repairs for years, and now they have to do them. And they had a shake-up with some councilors, and some people got voted out. But anyway, it disturbs me that for 4 years, if I try to sell anything in Fairfield's got the highest mill rate of all the area towns. So that really, and if they're asking us to put a moratorium on development, you just did that by having the highest mill rate. Nobody really, unless Drunken Donuts can come, but it's going to be very difficult for this guy to sell house lots in a high mill rate town that doesn't have, okay, it's going to cripple the developer that's trying to sell stuff, is what it's going to do. And again, we as a board need, what's our job? Promote healthy development within the ordinance, thanks to Nicole, who does a fabulous job. That's on the record, by the way.
Thank you.
We're going to have some tough sledding here with this mill rate, and if we think we want to put a moratorium, and you guys are going to vote, and stop development, that's going to exacerbate.
I have a problem telling people what they can do with their land if it's within the land use ordinance.
Absolutely.
I really do.
Absolutely.
If you have 1,000 acres and you want to put solar panels on it, how can I stop?
Well, here's an
if it's
interesting
within the
concept. The legislature voted, Max was involved, to promote solar farms on forever chemical fields. We happen to be the proud owner of, 6,000 to 8,000 acres of forever chemical fields. And if we moratorium that's the only stream of revenue that we can do on our contaminated properties. You can't sell the grass, you can't graze cows, you can't do anything. We should be fencing them in to keep the deer out of them, okay? And we're not doing that.
But look at the taxes the town would get off that.
What's that?
Look at the taxes the town would get off that.
Millions, zillions and millions would come in on a healthy tax base with no burden to the town. No burden to the sewer district, no burden to the water district, no burden to the school systems, no burden to the highway department, no burden, none. Oh, wait a minute. The tax assessor's got to send an envelope out looking for like $6 million on each 100-acre farm, maybe. Anyway, we got big problems because of that.
And
Okay.
I thought we thought the cannabis business was going to kind of regulate itself because of competition.
The state has said that, and that absolutely will happen. They will put each out of the, if you see down College Avenue, 15 pot stores,
yeah.
they won't be there in 5 years.
No, they won't.
They'll put each other out of business. And the state knows that.
So I don't want to discourage businesses to Fairfield. I really don't.
If we want to keep our mill rate and our taxes low, we have to encourage healthy business that meets the ordinance.
Even if we don't like it.
Even if we don't like it, thank you, okay? I don't like ballet dancing, but if one wants to come on Main Street, welcome,
Yeah.
okay? Welcome. I don't know, that's just me. You go ahead, Nicole.
Okay, so my second item from the clerk, moving on with development and a question that was
Could I-
posed to me. Oh, go ahead.
Before we move on from
Sure,
this one,
yeah.
I guess my feeling on this is, I don't understand the point of view from the council and why we need to regulate these businesses or these developments in town. So if they want to come and explain that to us, I would say they're welcome to.
I thought somebody was going to.
But at this point,
No.
I don't.
How it's going to go is we, and I will go with Max or anybody, and explain to the council and find out who feels that that's a smart financial move for this town. It may be one or two individuals that just don't want those businesses, and that's cool, okay? But, when you volunteer and work for this town in this capacity, We're here to develop healthy tax base to minimize our taxes and keep our tax bills and our costs down, not to drive those businesses away. It'd be like us telling Dunkin' Donuts, we want Starbucks, you're not welcome, okay? They're going to spend $500,000 on a little tiny building over there and get rid of 7 junk trailers.
The trailer's still staying there, right?
No, the trailers will be
It's
removed.
gonna-
Oh, they will all be removed.
Everything's going.
Everything's gone.
I thought it looked like it was still drawn in
Well,
there.
they showed you on the site plan existing.
When would that
but the
start?
new shows them gone.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
As soon
which
as
is
they get
good.
approval, this was just the preliminary discussion, so this is the first step, then they'll bring a formal application.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that, you all set with that, Max?
I am. I mean,
Okay.
if that's,
And-
I don't
and
know
would
what,
be
I think the town council is looking for a recommendation
Well, I
from
thought the
us.
public brought that up to them, and that's why they
No,
said
the
it.
council brought it up with them. Or they-
Yeah, the council has requested that we evaluate.
Yeah, but I think it's because of someone from the town asked the town council about it.
That could be. I mean,
And the town council, said, well, the planning board's the one, we'll ask them to review it.
There were residents who were concerned around the quantity of cannabis businesses
Right.
in Fairfield.
Yeah.
good.
My understanding, and from my attendance at town council meetings,
I listened to it, so.
there was
I do.
no public discussion around solar
No, there was not.
moratoriums.
I don't know where that
It
comes
was
from.
cannabis, it was the council that questioned the need for moratoriums on both industries.
And this is great, healthy discussions, good input from the board is going to take a recommendation to this council. And again, we want to develop, we want good, healthy development. We want good tax base.
Well, I live right behind the solar farm off Western Avenue, and I think it's fantastic. What else would you ever be able to put there?
It's a quiet neighbor.
Yeah,
Fenced
that's what
in.
I'm saying. I've got
Okay.
nobody behind me.
And we have other
I think
neighbors.
it's pretty great.
So, yeah, but, you know, I was running the Waterville Council for a project in Waterville. We don't want to look at it.
And I get that, but I also, places like this, like, you wouldn't be able to do anything else with the land anyway, so,
And what a huge,
Why wouldn't that be a perfect place for it?
It would be a huge windfall
yeah,
for the tax base of this town
yeah.
if there was, and I don't think there is going, there's none proposed at this point, but I don't think even if there's none proposed, we may or may not want to say, don't come, okay? Or please come, okay? And Nicole, go ahead.
So another person had looked at a property, 233 Main Street. It's the red building at the end of Western Avenue that's currently has a for sale sign on it. It's always been used for retail. I guess it was a gift shop, and then
It was a video store, it's
Okay.
been the hairdresser
upstairs, and she's still there. So the person that approached me today wanted me to ask the board, because when I look at our land use table, it says professional general office, C, conditional use permit, but where it's already a developed building, if they do a change of occupancy from retail sales to, say, a physician's office, and the type of physicians they are nurse practitioners. And so the type, it's more like a wellness clinic where they do treatments, and that's the part he wasn't sure. Do you need to know the type of treatments that they do? Because they're not your traditional physician's office. I mean, they probably do happen in a physician's office, but their focus would be like people that have tested low for testosterone, they go there for treatment on that. Or if they have controlled substance problems, they go there for a monthly injection.
Would that be tax-free? Because it's medical?
No, because they're not technically a physician's office. They can treat people with those ailments, but they're going to be more a wellness clinic. If somebody has trouble with weight, they are also going to do weight loss without surgery type clinic. So these nurse practitioners work in a group together, and they focus on different healthcare issues that you typically probably wouldn't go to a regular physician's office for.
Right.
They're-
It's because of HIPAA.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay, so,
Because of HIPAA and, it's supposed to be able to talk about people's things like testosterone, about being able to father a child and
okay.
things like that.
So and they are licensed nurse practitioners. So my question is, do I do a development permit, just do a change of occupancy from a retail store and let them build interior partition walls for maybe 3 or 4 offices for the 3 or 4 different practitioners, and nothing outside the building changes, just the use inside the building would change. So it's still a commercial building on a commercial lot with commercial parking. The exterior would have no changes, maybe an ADA ramp. But do you guys consider that a professional office, or do you consider it a controlled substance facility?
Gosh, it's got to be professional office because of the multitude of uses you're speaking of, okay?
Right, they do healthcare,
Yep.
they do, so different treatments, monthly injections of, I guess, the opioid addiction drug that they have now is just one a month injection. So they do have that type of clientele that would also go. But various different ailments and treatments they do.
Yeah, I look at this as professional office.
Okay, professional office, that's how I was looking at it, I just didn't
No,
want.
that's right.
Okay, and then, do you want them to come for a formal conditional use permit where it's already a developed lot, a developed commercial entity, or just a development permit by rule that I issue for the fit-up of the interior changes?
I would say, my thought is permit by rule.
Okay.
It's the use of a commercial, existing commercial space that's grandfathered,
Right.
and there's a change of use from retail to that.
To
I don't
professional.
think this board needs to know the
How many walls
patients
they put
and
up.
how sick
Right.
they are and what they got.
Right.
That's
I
not
would look
our-
at it as, it's already a professional office and general service in my mind, being
Sure.
the retail associated with it. If this was transitioning to a college residence hall, that's a totally new land use on our table. I would say that would come back, but I see this as a similar use,
A service they provide.
a service that's in the same line as our land use activities table.
Okay, so I'll talk to them and let them know, permit by rule.
And this is for the first floor only, maybe?
The person's looking to purchase the entire building,
Okay.
so they're a tenant upstairs, the hairdresser would remain, and they may do mixed occupancy, they might do 2 efficiency apartments, because half the upstairs is unfinished. You have your hairdresser upstairs and nothing on the other side, so it'd be very low impact, mixed use. He was saying perhaps 2, 1-bedroom apartments.
Okay.
So not
Now,
even subdivision.
That's going to start to affect 101 life safety exit code and
Correct,
fire.
correct. Yeah,
fire-
all within the footprint of the building.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But the stair towers, exits, fire code, all that's brought in.
And it
Because
is a
of the
school.
residents, because of the residents.
Right, so they do have the remote stairwells and everything already
Okay.
existing in that building.
And they're fire rated correctly for that?
I don't know at this time, but he'd have to get an engineer
Okay.
involved
And
and.
that is not a sprinklered building? That is not a sprinkled
No,
building?
it does not have sprinklers in it.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, if they're starting to do multi-use, as long as they comply with the code requirements for that use, yes. Because if you have elder people living upstairs,
Right,
okay, exit code's really,
right,
really important.
yes, of course, yeah.
Okay, now, again,
Okay, so development permit on that, okay, great, that was his question. I'm sure before he wants to make an offer on it, he wanted to know he could do what he wanted with it. And then the other item is, Michelle has currently applied for a grant, and so we're waiting to hear back on the money to hire KV Cog. If we get that grant, then we're going to move ahead with the subdivision, shoreland zone, and floodplain. So we're seeking money for that right
good.
now.
That's
Okay?
good. That's very good.
And that's all I had.
Super, thank you, Nicole. Item C under 7, members. Any items by members? Nope.
Welcome, Monica.
Thank you. Found it very interesting, just listening and taking it all in for right now.
Very good. Okay, if that's the end of our agenda, I take a motion for adjournment. Motion?
Second.
In a second. All those in favor? Thank you very much.